A cinematographer's job is to capture a director's vision. They enhance, interpret, and elevate it visually. A skilled cinematographer collaborates with the director to shape the story through composition, lighting, movement, and camera choices.
And so we'll do a couple different takes, and one which where he's going slow and grabs your face and turns you around. Yeah.
Okay. So today we'll be talking about how to communicate with your cinematographer. What type of information should you tell them? What sort of questions should you have? If you're a director that is not technical, you could care less about cameras. When speaking to your DOP, it's a lot about expressing the feeling that you're trying to capture. What is it about your vision? Because I know that as a director, a lot of times you see the film in your head, but sometimes you want to discover what the film is because you don't know. You just know that you have this great script and you have this great idea, but you don't really know what it looks like. And that can be a challenge, for cinematographers, because a lot of times as a DOP, you're very technical. So you want to understand what's happening for a scene. You want to understand how much lights we need. You want to understand, okay, what type of lens do you need? Like you have all those questions that are in your mind that you hope the director helps you answer. But if the director is not technical and they don't really know what's happening, they don't really understand, like, oh, okay, what's the difference between a 35 milliliter and a 85, but for you, that is your job. So the first thing that your cinematographer would like to know is what type of film are we making? Looking at what type of genre. So what type of genre of film are we doing? Genres help us to put things into boxes and to start to limit us in terms of rules of how anything is made. I think one thing that is often overlooked with film is the importance of limitations, because with limitations, we are able to start dreaming out big. Without limitations, it's almost impossible to do anything. So the first step is coming up with a genre. What genre of film are you going for? So is it a horror film? Is it a thriller? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it a dramedy? Is it sci-fi? Once we've established what type of genre the film is in, we are then able to know what sort of feel and look we are going for. Once you've determined your genre, the next step is your mood board. Your mood board is basically where you're coming up with ideas of what you want your film to feel like. What are some of the things that will be in the film? With your mood board, basically you're coming up with the mood and tone, right? So remember, if we say the film is a horror film, what sort of mood, what sort of tone? Is it the type of horror like a jump scare? Is it the type of horror like, those psychological ones where you're in someone's mind? What sort of mood are you going with it? What sort of tone are you going? Is it going to be lighthearted? Is it going to be heavy? And you're coming up with this and you're finding ways in which you can express these ideas. So you're going through, back in the day, magazines, but now you're going through sites like Shot Deck, you're going through the internet, you're just taking screenshots and putting them in a presentation that you can give somebody to see what it is that you're thinking. These are just ideas. It can be an audio, it can be this. You're going with, this is the sort of mood that I'm going for with the film, and that you see in your head. And then you share this document with your cinematographer. Once you've picked whoever this cinematographer is going to be, then they can go and come up with what we call a lookbook, which is their interpretation of what you've presented them. So they read the script, they look at your mood board, and they come up with a look of the film that they're thinking. And then you guys come and collaborate on that. You have a discussion over the overall look of the film, of what you're going for. And because, as a cinematographer, this person is a filmmaker, this is somebody who's also coming up with their ideas, and you want it to be a collaboration. It is your vision, but you want to be open to having that person come in, because, anyone can come and push record for your film. So, once that person has an idea of what they think the film would look like, you come up with it, and then you guys agree upon the look of the film and what it is that you're going for, including your production designer. Once the three of you have come up with this look, then the discussions from there will start going into more of, from your script analysis, what type of shots you're looking at. Because once you guys have an agreement of what the film is going to look like and what the budget of the film is, your cinematographer can then start coming up with, a breakdown of what can be needed and what can be achieved based on the budget that's there, based on the locations, based on the production design, based on a lot of other factors. But a lot of this comes out of your lookbook, and because now he knows what's needed to achieve that look, or if there's anything that needs to happen beyond that, what he can do to help you capture your vision. So an important aspect is to know the mood and tone of your film. Once we get to the lookbook, it's like you guys now know everybody is on the same page in terms of the film that you're trying to make. An important step in your pre-production is the shortlist. There are two ways that you can go on looking at a shortlist. One is, as a director, you can go away and just through your script analysis come up with your shortlist, what sort of shots you want for your film, because it is your vision. Or the alternative is to work together with your DOP, where you guys are just coming up with, okay, for this scene, this is what we'll do for this, and then you come up with a shortlist together. Or if you want your cinematographer to go away and come up with a shortlist by themselves, if you trust them that much. The only challenge with having your cinematographer go away is they'll come up with their own film, right? This is your film, and you want to know what you need, especially in post, how you're seeing each scene. But if you're somebody who's like, I'm not really about all those technical things, I trust you, then fair and fine, you can trust your cinematographer to know that. But then a lot of communication has to happen for them to be able to give you what you need, because the worst thing you want is in post to realize there's a shot that you needed but you never got it because it was never written. Like, no one actually knew that that's a shot that was needed. So that's something that you have to think about. Shortlist is also very important because once you have it, your cinematographer now knows the sort of equipment that's needed to achieve different shots. If you have an over the shoulder, you already knows you need a tripod or you need a shoulder rig. Is the camera floating? What's happening? Do we need a steady cam? Do we need a crane? What do we need to achieve this? So all this then comes from the shot list, and the same shot list is shared with your assistant director, your AD. When they're coming up with their schedule, they're able to use the shots, the different shots, to understand that, okay, how much time is needed to set up a single shot? Can the same setup be used for different shots? How much longer? And then that's how they come up with their own list of things, and they can have a communication with the cinematographer, and everybody now knows the amount of crew that's needed to achieve a certain thing. So it is quite important that in your short list you go away without limitations, you dream as much shots as you want, and then with your DOP and be like, okay, what's realistic in terms of time, in terms of budget, in terms of crew? Like, can we really afford renting a $10,000 crane, or can that $10,000 be used for something else? Or if this crane shot is very important, what can we sacrifice? And that's where that communication happens in that shortlist process. And also you want to speak about the colors, the color palette, but that's more of your production designer. You just want to speak to see what is the best camera, what is the best everything to achieve the look and feel that you guys are going for. And this happens at this stage, so that when you're on set, the last thing you want to do is talk with your DOP about a technical thing. One thing that I find important is a storyboard. I cannot draw, so I don't spend much of my time worrying about storyboards, but I find them important, especially for sequences, because if you have a storyboard, you already know on the day what we're doing, and everybody can look at the storyboard and realize, okay, we're moving from this. If we've done this shot, this is the next shot. But one thing that the more that you do this, you stop relying a lot on storyboards, because I think if you have the tools necessary and you have the people there to help you make a storyboard, then sure, do it. But if you don't have, I don't think it's a reason not to film. For me, I always find like it takes a lot of time for me to make storyboards, but they are valuable, especially if your DOP needs them. Some DOPs need storyboards to know. But for me, I feel like they limit the creativity on the day, because sometimes, you look at an actor and, a certain framing might not work with that actor, and you want to be able to move away, and you can, if you have a storyboard and you're rigid. But where I've seen where they use storyboards a lot is on commercials, and everybody just knows, okay, this is what we're doing. Because with commercials, I feel like the pipeline of people who have to agree to a shot to be done is just massive. And when everybody knows this is the thing we agreed on, so let's do it, then you can justify having a storyboard. So this is something that is up to you if you want to make it, and you can share it with your DOP so that they know what sort of framing you're going for, and on the day you can give them the freedom to express themselves, but also you've told them what you want. And this is in a way of controlling the framing that you have, because different DPs have different ideas of what a frame should be. So like, I think in that you're able to communicate what you're thinking, and they are able to be like, oh, okay, I see what you're going for, and then that helps. And an important step with that as well, it helps with the lensing, because if you're looking for a close-up, or if you want a shot whereby the subject is in the forefront, but then also we can see the people in the background, the DP is able to ask you these questions, like in terms of, okay, what sort of, are we looking for shallow depth of field? Are we looking for wide depth of field? Like what's happening, and from your storyboard, they're able to visually see this. So I think storyboards do help everybody be visually prepared for the project that you're going for. Another thing that you want to communicate with your cinematographer prior is just the technical aspects of things. You find that when you're coming up with a film, right, in your mind, you have this visualization. The idea just hits you and you see it. But how to translate that into something visual, into something that can be communicated with somebody, there's a lot of technicalities that happen. So let's say you want your film to be shown in an IMAX theater, right? You have the budget, you have everything. If you don't communicate this to somebody and you say, oh, my reference film is something from Netflix, and then they go watch a Netflix film that wasn't shot for IMAX, the moment you guys don't communicate this, there's a discrepancy. So the camera that you're using to film for it might not be IMAX rated, right? So it might be they're just trying to get closer to your reference, and not necessarily. And then there's that discrepancy of like, oh, we shot this, but you were looking for this. And then you might not want to work with that DP again. But the problem was you guys didn't really communicate effectively prior to it. So you want to talk about things like aspect ratio. You want to speak about this thing so that you're all on the same page. When you're starting out, you're working with people who are available to you. It's just any random DOP. But the way that I look at it as a director is, when you're working with a DP, you have to audition the DPs. You have to look at a DP. It's like the same thing as picking an actor, right? It's about knowing their work and having trust in them. Because what happens a lot of times, especially at the stage that I'm at, is when you're working with certain directors, some trust you. Some are just like, I like your work. I've seen your portfolio, and I'm going to trust you with the cinematography of this. But what tends to happen is other directors don't really trust you. You are there to help them make the film, because everybody for them is an extension of their hands, right? So everybody who's working for them is an extension of the things so that they can focus on their actors, but you're there to do what they want. So what you want to do and think about as a director is, who's this filmmaker that I'm choosing, and what do I trust about them? The thing with DOPs, with cinematography, is it's essentially the same job. It's the same tools, whereby you can put 10 cinematographers in the same room and give us the same equipment, and everybody will film a scene in a different way based on their own taste and a lot of factors that go into how somebody films. And so you want to choose somebody that you feel is right for your project and for the vision that you have in your mind, so that when you express to them what it is that you expect, they have that capability. The last thing that you want is to just get a DOP and hope that you can shape them into your project, because that won't work. Somebody sees certain things in a different way, how the camera moves, what the camera is picking. And I think in any cinematographer's demo reel, you are able to see how they react to different subjects, how they frame the face, how they do anything, and the things that come naturally to them. And the moment you try to just get somebody because they say I'm a cinematographer, it doesn't necessarily mean they're the right person for your project. So you need to find somebody who's the best person for your project. You might pick me for one project, and I might not be the right person for your next project, just in terms of my cinematography handwriting. And you can see it in the work that I've done. You might be like, oh, but it wasn't a high budget sort of thing. I don't think that's how you should determine how you pick somebody. I think you should determine how you pick somebody just by their work and how they choose to shoot narratives. And it's so different with all the different factors, just how people see life. So it also helps you with your communication with that person. With that said, I hope you've learned something and you can take something from this video. If you find some value, smash that subscribe button. And also, I hope this helps you just communicate with your DPs much, much better. I'll see you guys in the next one.